The Retroid Pocket G2 is in kind of a tricky position. It launched just as Retroid announced the Pocket 6, which is the true successor to the Pocket 5. The G2 feels somewhat like a Pocket 5.5, not a complete leap to the next generation, but definitely more than a minor update. It seems familiar. The shape, AMOLED panel, and button layout all remain the same as the Pocket 5. However, there's a lot happening under the surface that the Pocket 5 couldn't match. That's what makes this device worth discussing, even if its timing seems a little odd. The design is the same as the Pocket 5, so if you liked how the Pocket 5 felt in the hand, you'll feel right at home here. The new colors do help it stand out, though the turquoise and yellow options look way better in person. If you prefer these brighter color options, the Retroid Pocket G2 might make more sense over the Pocket 6. The sticks are Hall sensors, the D-pad still has that Vita-style click, and the face buttons are a bit on the louder side, but they work fine once you get used to them. The front-facing speakers are a nice touch, but your palms might cover them slightly. Deal breaker for some, it's just something you may notice after a while. Video out through USB-C still works exactly like before. Plug it into a monitor or TV and it behaves like a tiny console. Pretty neat for something this size. It has Snapdragon G2 Gen 2, and that alone significantly changes how this system performs. In use, it feels much more powerful. It boots quickly and apps load faster. GPU and CPU gains are similar to what can be seen on Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 handhelds. That doesn't mean the G2's performance is identical to something like Odin 2 Portal, but it's much better than Pocket 5's. The Pocket 5 could handle many older systems well, but it had limits once you pushed past GameCube or tried anything demanding on PS2. Some Switch games would load, then crash, or never reach the necessary speed. With the G2, that issue disappears. Games that the Pocket 5 struggled with, or didn't run at all, now work without much extra tweaking. PS2 is much more consistent. Switch games that were borderline on the Pocket 5 are now finally playable on G2. Even smaller PC games perform better thanks to the stronger chip. Snapdragon G2 Gen 2 is a bit more battery-friendly than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. Based on what I've read, it's designed specifically for prolonged gaming sessions with less power consumption. So, although the Retroid Pocket 6 will have a larger battery, I wouldn't be surprised if the G2 lasts roughly the same, or perhaps even a little longer depending on what you're playing. The G2 runs on Android 15, which means better longevity and cleaner support for newer apps. The standby battery drain is really small too. It uses a 5000 mAh battery, and it's surprisingly efficient for what it can run. Lighter handheld systems barely touch it, with Game Boy Advance stretching past 16 hours and GameCube at 3 times resolution lasting over 8 hours. PlayStation 2 sits around 4 hours, same for Switch games. Heavier PC titles or high-performance mode naturally drain it the quickest, usually a little over 2 hours depending on the game. The 27-watt fast charging tops it up fairly quickly, usually taking a little over an hour to get back to full. When you stack the Pocket G2 against the Retroid Pocket 5, the strengths are pretty clear. The G2 has a newer chip, way better performance in every system past PSP, and it handles tougher games without needing a bunch of settings tweaks. Things that push the Pocket 5 to its limit run far cleaner on the G2. Battery efficiency is also better than you'd expect for the jump in power. Now, the Pocket 6 is the more powerful device, and the 120Hz screen layout options make it look like the obvious next step. So if you really want these color options and don't feel like waiting around for the Retroid Pocket 6 to ship, the Pocket G2 is an excellent upgrade from the Pocket 5. It's fast, it's balanced, and it fixes almost everything the Pocket 5 struggled with. But if waiting isn't an issue, I'd probably recommend holding out for the Pocket 6. It's only about $10 more, so for most people, it just makes sense to wait and get the bigger jump.